Is Ana Navarro. Kayleigh, does it worry you that if Donald Trump brings up the Clintons, Bill Clinton's marital infidelities and sex scandals, that then Donald Trump's past is brought up as well?
Yes, because I think then it turns into a battle over marriages and past from the 90s, and I don't think that serves either candidate to bring new voters on board. That being said, I think it's effective for people like Kellyanne Conway to go on The View and bring up some of Hillary Clinton's past and allegedly bullying some of these women. So I think the surrogates doing it is one thing, but I don't think the candidate should do it.
Christine, is it fair game?
I mean, I just think it's an inappropriate conversation for either side. I wouldn't want Donald Trump to do it. I wouldn't want the Clinton campaign to do it either. These are things about people's past marriages, and honestly, Donald Trump is in no position to be throwing stones at other people. And why don't we try, finally, in the final days, to keep this election about the issues, about the candidates, and not have, and to say it's not appropriate for Mr. Trump to say it, but it is okay for the surrogates to say it, is such a strategic splitting of hairs. It goes against the idea of trying to have some level of decorum and dignity in a race for the most important office in the world. And let's not talk about their marriages and the issues that happen. Let's talk about the issues that the Trump campaign says over and over it wants to talk about.
Should the Trump surrogates then be fair game to be questioned about Trump's marital history?
Well, I don't think this is about, I agree, let's not talk about marriages. But my issue is when Hillary Clinton sends out a tweet, has a section on her website saying sexual assault victims deserve to be heard and believed, but yet the New York Times reports that she's called some of these women floozy, bimbo, stalker. You know, these are not appropriate words to be calling people who have these very serious allegations. So when she opens that issue, then we have to look at how she's treated that issue in her personal life.
I think it's very clear that Hillary Clinton's history, her life's history, about working, and we've had this conversation before, where you and the Trump campaign throw these attacks at Secretary Clinton. Probably no one in the world has done more to help survivors of rape and sexual assault and female genital mutilation and sex trafficking than Hillary Clinton. So just let's not go there.
Except in the 1992 war room when she's putting private investigators on any woman who...
It's all what the Trump campaign does, quite honestly. They say, as you mentioned before, Anderson, I'm not going to do that. But then they find this back door around the way to do it and think they're kind of tricking Americans, and they're not. It's just not dignified.
There are a lot of folks, even Republican strategists, who worry that bringing this up could backfire on Trump, that it would basically play into Clinton's case that he's a bully, that he degrades, humiliates women. If he went there, how do you think it would play out?
I think we are seeing how it's playing out, and I think it's playing out incredibly negatively for him. He already has a practically 20-point gap with women, one of the largest in history, and he continues digging that hole for himself. Let's just take a look at what's happened in the last 7 days. First, they announced that they're inviting Jennifer Flowers, one of Bill Clinton's former girlfriend's mistresses, to the debate to sit on the front row. Then, during the debate, he goes after Rosie O'Donnell again. What are you doing? You are a presidential candidate. You are the Republican nominee. Why are you punching down? Go punch at Putin. Go punch at Kim Jong-un. What are you doing going after Rosie O'Donnell? What are you doing trashing Alicia Machado, the former Miss Universe? So I think the way he has reacted to the charges of sexism have reminded us, after he has stayed 3 or 4 weeks to script, to the teleprompter, and had not been horrifically offensive, he has now reminded us in the last 5 days why he is so unfit to be president, because he does not have the character needed to be presidential.
Maggie, I mean, to the point that Anna raised about trying to appeal to women voters, which is important for Donald Trump. I mean, he does have a real deficit compared to Hillary Clinton on appeal to women voters.
Right. I mean, this is why the Machado comments resonated. This is why the fact that Trump kept talking about them, Newt Gingrich kept talking about them, one of his top advisors, was problematic for him. He has struggled throughout this campaign to move towards something that would be a productive form of outreach on this and other areas, including to black voters, including to Hispanic voters. This is going to end up being, I think, another week wasted, when really the conversation is, yes, it's being injected into the bloodstream because there's the will he do this when he gets to the stage, but at the end of the day, voters are indeed hearing this about the Clintons, but you're also hearing from Republicans saying, a lot of them saying, we don't want to talk about the past, we should just move forward. And elections are always about the future. So I just think for Trump's case, it's going to be very hard to get elected if he doesn't change that number of the gender gap, and I don't know that this was a week that went toward doing it.
He seems committed to not changing the gender gap. I mean, what he did at the debate, how he doubled down on the former Miss Universe the day after on Fox, it's mind-boggling why any person, nonetheless someone who's trying to woo women voters, would be so rude and disrespectful. And today, more reports of lawsuits alleging he wanted to have women fired because he found them not attractive enough to be hostesses.
Well, first of all, we'll get into that later, and there's a whole lot of information.
Allegations, I said, and they're out there.
But CNN, the latest CNN poll shows him winning by 17% among married women. And the one area where bringing up these allegations from the 90s are very important is with millennial females. I've seen it firsthand on these college campuses. They care deeply about sexual assault. I've had women come up to me saying, I didn't realize that Miss Clinton did this, hired private investigators to go after any woman who challenged her husband. And that's confirmed in a deposition. You can go read all about it.
That's
These
also,
young women,
that's not what Trump is saying, though. That's not what Trump is saying. And I think that's the, I think what you just, but I think what you just got to, I think, is actually the issue that is happening within the Trump campaign to some extent, is that there are advisors who don't want him to talk about this at all. There are some advisors who do want him to talk about it, and then there are advisors who want him to talk about this in a different he is, in the way that you're talking about it. And that's not what he's doing at all. The way he's talking about it is a way that even some of his supporters say is not productive. So that's just, I think, a distinction.
Because he's talking about it, I believe, in the way that we've seen time and again. He actually thinks about women. That if we're not tens in his book,
well, but
we're not worthwhile.
The problem is that we're going from that, instead of talking about substantive issues, this has turned into a reality show. It has turned into one of those horrible daytime shows that you just want to cringe because you see people slugging it out with each other. And, and I think that Trump has lost sight of the fact that the average American woman in America is a size 12. They look a lot more like me than they look like Melania Trump. And when he's calling people fat pig, when he's fat shaming people, he is fat shaming a majority of Americans. And it makes no sense for him to talk about the 400-pound hacker. And let me point out that I just think, when you've got a Donald Trump or a Newt Gingrich fat shaming people in public, I don't know, man, but I think you got to have a minimum level of fitness yourself if you're going to have the gall to go out and fat shame anybody.
And I just want to add, Anderson, this issue of fat shaming that Anna raises, it's a very serious issue. I know some people will laugh it off, but the issues of eating disorders, and, I've talked about my own struggles in that area in the past, they're not a joke. I mean, we have an enormous problem in this country with young people with anorexia and bulimia, and that Donald Trump thinks he can just throw that out there, that people are fat, overweight, not pretty enough to have certain jobs. That's the kind of thing that eats away at young people, boys and girls' souls, and is really hurtful. And people listen. Children take in what presidential nominees and people in power say, and he's reckless. And that recklessness can be harmful.
Regardless of whether you think he should bring up Bill Clinton's scandals of the past, I mean, it is incredible that at this stage of a presidential race, that this is just that a candidate for a major party is talking about women's weight. I mean, when you kind of, after a while, it all seems so normal that this is what we're talking about. But at a certain point, like, you just step back and you say, wait a minute, we're 6 weeks away from somebody becoming president, and a legitimate candidate is discussing this.
But in large part because Hillary Clinton put this out there. It was not true. I wish there was a fact checker at the debate. It was unsubstantiated allegations that he used those terms for the former Miss Universe. First of all, I agree with you. He should not have mentioned the weight on Fox and Friends. It gave the story legs. That's why we're still talking about it tonight. But he never called her fat. That's been something that's been widely said that it was not true.
Well, we don't know if it's true or not. I mean,
he called her these.
There's a video
he called her an eating machine.
There's no,
Look, this was all documented at the time. This was all on TV. I can tell you that for the Hispanic community, the Hispanic community is very familiar with Alicia Machado. She was, and we remember when this happened. We remember when she was made to work out in public, like if she was a guinea pig, working out in public. We remember
while he was talking about her.
We remember him calling her an eating machine.
He fought
for
so this is not allegations. This was widely covered at the time.
But Kelly, whether he did
look at her response.
He fought for her to retain her title. The Miss Universe board wanted to take it away. I assume something in her contract said you have to maintain your appearance. Many media contracts have provisions like that. He fought for her to retain her title, and they wanted to celebrate working out and physical fitness, and they did it this way. She was very happy.
No. It wasn't exact. That was not a celebration of working out and physical fitness. If it was, he would have worn some sweatsuits and worked out with her. Watching her work out in very strange cutaway shots and then giving interviews to, like, the Access Hollywoods of the world saying, this one over here likes to eat.
She hugged him. She was smiling. She was very happy. And 20 years later,
she's a 19-year-old non-citizen who's working.
Let me just tell you something. Let me just say this. Hell knows no fury like a Latina who's been called fat. And what he should have done the day after the debate is he should have admitted that that was the wrong thing to do, and he should have moved on. He's got a gap with women. He's got a gap with Hispanics. If you think trying to trash this woman 20 years later, trying to link her with all sorts of things is going to help him any, it doesn't. Because we all remember when she was exhibited in workout clothes and being told that she was an eating machine.
Anna.
It is not helpful.
Here's the problem. Miss Sweden came on our airwaves and said everyone who signs up for Miss Universe knows that physical fitness is a part of it. Her interactions with Donald Trump were nothing but pleasant. We've had many other Miss Americas come on and say, look, he helped me financially when I needed help. We had Miss Tara Conner say, look, when I was about to lose my title, he fought for me to keep it and gave me a second chance. There's one person out there saying this, and it happens to be the one that was discredited on our very airwaves Tuesday when she was asked about
let me just tell you, there's a lot of women out there.
I'm not a saint.
There's a lot of women out there who are going to identify. There's a lot of women out there who are going to identify with a woman who eats under stress. Not everybody's a size 00. A lot of us have a number, a digit in front of the 0, and a lot of us can identify with what it is to be in yo-yo weight gain and losses and have the pressure. And so it is not helpful for the guy who wants to be the president of the United States of America, including the president of overweight people like he is, to be bringing this up and relitigating
He's empowered women of all sizes.
And let's not make Donald Trump into the Mother Teresa of women. Whether he did or didn't do any of those nice things, I don't know. But he said this woman was an eating machine. It wasn't physical fitness. He didn't check to see if she could do a 4-minute mile. He made her exercise in front of the press, said she couldn't stop eating. She gained a lot of weight. It was a big problem. And watched her. Whether you do one good thing, which I don't even know is true, you allege, it doesn't take away that scene, which is reprehensible.
That's the creepy cutaway, by the way.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Up next, what we know of